This is from the water.
There was also
So you read through this all, Brian?
Yeah. I think it's paragraph 11's about as close as it comes to anything of any significance.
Okay. Uniformly applied throughout most cities. It says after consulting. Yeah, which reminds me, Brian, I think we still got 2 water easements out there. One is,
Oh,
the Hubbards.
water easements.
Yeah, for them to go in the right of way. Maybe you're right.
Yeah, because this looks like a total.
Yeah, I'll forward this one to you.
Okay. Yeah, right now.
I think one was at Rob Hubbard's. John was gonna take care of it. Whitman was gonna take care of it when he skated with him. I don't think that ever got done. God, where was the second one? Because it's in there. The
Ready?
name's in there.
All right. Call the Lakeland Shores City Council meeting December 7th, 2017 to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kim, would you mind taking roll call?
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Bischoff.
Here.
Councilmember Kopesky.
Present.
Mayor Zeller.
Here. The first item of business is to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a motion to do so?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Is there a second?
My second one.
I'll let you guys figure out who got that one. I'll
Tim
call
did.
for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the consent agenda. There's 2 items on there. Approve the October 5th, 2017 council minutes and approve the monthly claims and financial reports. Anybody have any questions or concerns with either of those items?
Do you want to add that?
I certainly can, thank you. So there were 2 items relative to claims and financial reports. The first being, we had asked Tom Niedzwicki for the bill or our proportionate share of the median maintenance, and he provided that. It looks like our share is
$337.
$337. I believe that work was coordinated by Jim Stanton, and I think it was actually performed by his wife. But that was significantly lower than I think it has been in the past. So that was good news. The second thing that we received was Mr. Magnuson's legal bill, and that is already on our claims and financial reports. I just wanted to call out a couple of things. Judy was kind enough to provide a detail for me, and I have it here for everyone. This just serves as a little bit of a reminder when we reach out to Mr. Magnuson. Of course, there's a cost associated with that, and a relatively innocent phone call with an innocent question, by the time we're all said and done, was about a $670 charge. So I just really want to kind of alert people to be cognizant of that. We don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. When we need legal advice, we need it, and we need to pay for it. But just be cognizant of that if you're to reach out to them. With that, I would make a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. There's no one present from the public. Did we receive anything written?
You did not.
Okay. I like that. We're in unfinished and new business. Item A, consideration of treasurer contract. Copy was provided in your packet. Pretty consistent with language from our previous agreement, as I understand it. Wasn't anything that jumped out at me. Any questions or comments from council? I'll make a motion that we approve the treasurer's contract. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of resolution number 2017-12-01, treasurer signature approval. Now, just for my own clarification, it's not just allowing our new treasurer to sign, but also myself, John, and Randy, I believe, correct?
That's correct.
Kim?
Mayor and council members, I took the last one from last year that was approved, and so all of those names were on this.
Right. Okay, so we're just kind of reaffirming those three and appointing Judy as well. So then what will we need to do to facilitate that? Will we get a signature card that we can, or do we need to stop at the bank?
From them, yep.
Okay.
We can send that out to them with the approval,
Yes.
and then we'll get something back for each of us to sign, so they have our signatures.
Now, in the past, with the WMO in particular, I actually had to go to the bank,
And
so
yep, they made it for you to do that, yep.
check license and that type of thing. So will you facilitate that?
Yes, I will, I'll make sure
Okay.
to get that set up.
So I'd make a motion that we approve resolution 2017-12-01. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
And every check that gets signed has two signatures on it, so it's never just anyone can do it, it's always gonna be two
Perfect.
signatures on it.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you. Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item C is consideration of resolution number 2017-12-02. It's the final 2018 levy and budget. The only item I think that we had discussed previously but didn't vote on, I thought it would be more appropriate if we had a full council, was the issue of council and mayor compensation. I had introduced the idea previously about decreasing it back to the level that it was, I believe, in 2014, which results in a decrease to the mayor's compensation of $75 per month and council compensation of $35 a month. Let me just open that up for discussion if anyone is interested in reviewing that or discussing it. Randy, I think you had some thoughts or comments?
Mr. Mayor, thank you, I do.
we go back to, what was it, what did you say, 2013, somewhere in the neighborhood, when the other council was on board, I was the mayor. That's when we increased the council compensation to its current level. Prior to that, I know the council members and myself, we did due diligence, talking with other residents, and there was no pushback by anybody to make those salaries higher. After we did it, excuse me, again, no repercussions from the community. At this point in time, and I went now, fast forward to November, December 2017. Again, went out and spoke to a number of residents, told them about what's being considered, and they had a quizzical, puzzled look on their face as to why would you want to do that? And I go, well, that's a good question. Apparently there's some issue that there's not, it's just, I think what it was is, and I'll be perfectly frank, and I told the folks that the mayor is voluntarily giving back his salary. And they go, okay, that's great. And they said, well, what about the other council members? And I said, well, I think that people, it's a free country, that we should be able to make our own choice as to where we want to go with this. And they said, well, you know, and I'm going to make a bid for re-election for next year. What I'm proposing is that if people want to do it voluntarily like the mayor does, and kudos to him, if they want to voluntarily give some of it back, all of it back, that's great. My position is I'm going to continue to maintain the current salary that I would get, and if the voters at the voter box in 2020, I believe, or 2019, I can't remember which, 2018, oh boy, that's next year already, feel that my position is unworthy relative to that, then so be it. They can make their preference known at the ballot box. And I've done some other further research, and as we know, we get a summary from the city clerk every month about what occurred excuse me, at the county board meetings. And I took an opportunity to print out 2 of the narratives from their county board proceedings, and it says the county attorney's office is recommending a budget of just more than $6 million, most of it which is paid for with the property tax. Of that, $5.5 million pays for personnel services. So they have a significant amount of money that they pay for personnel. Then we go down to the next one, the Department of Community Corrections, $10.9 million budget, 7.7 is the property tax, and the majority of that is spent on personnel. So, and I know that there's been discussion that, comparatively speaking, the salary structure that we have for Lakeland Shores is a significant impact, alleged significant impact on the budget that we have here. But we took that in consideration before and still developed a methodology to have the increase. And seeing as how there's been no pushback and that people want to have their salaries changed, I support that. But I would like, unless there's further discussion, I will hope that somebody would at least second my motion, that my motion is that for the council salaries to remain the same, and if people want to voluntarily give back all or none, that be done.
So you're making a formal motion to that
Yes.
effect? Is anyone willing to second that? Anyone? So your motion's gonna fail for lack of a second.
I understand that.
But it doesn't mean we can't have additional discussion.
I understand that.
So I'm the one that brought it forward, and primarily because of a concern for our overall budget. Our budget is $152,000 a year. It has grown, and frankly, it doesn't take much to grow it. You know, I mean, it's just such a small budget that literally every $100 impacts our bottom line. So, my concern was that the current compensation makes up about 9% of our budget, which is, I think, a pretty big number. I don't know Lakeland's exact number right now, but our compensation currently is pretty close to what Lakeland's is. And their budget is $1 million. And they've got personnel, they've got water department, they've got more responsibilities than we have. So that's where I was coming from on that. But, being sensitive to your comments and giving it some thought, I'd like to see us make a little tidbit of an adjustment. Maybe we don't have to go back to where it was in 14, but just some quick math. If council was willing to decrease from 185 to 175, and if the mayors went from 250 to 200, that saves us over $1,000 a year. It doesn't take us all the way back to where we were, but it takes us back $1,000, and I think it's symbolic of trying to keep that budget in line as much as possible. I also think that we don't necessarily have to decrease our budget by that amount of money, because there's been a lot of concern about roads and whether or not we're funding it enough. So, I'd certainly be willing to leave our budget and levy where we have it, but to adjust the line item so that, compensation decreases $10 per month per council member, $50 per month for mayor, and then we reappropriate that to roads. So that was kind of a compromise that I'd come up with in the last 24 hours. Thoughts?
I withdraw my motion. Obviously, it died for a second, but I'll withdraw it just to get it on the record.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Well, I guess I'm thinking about what you said earlier about the attorney's bill. Even the phone call, I don't know where that came from or where it generated, but there was $634. So, and that adds to the budget right there.
Well, it doesn't. I did
Yeah.
look at the overall budget, and
Yeah.
we're under budget for what we budget for legal costs. Now, we may still receive another legal bill for, because I think that was through July. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it's a little longer, but it was going back to 2015
Right.
and that too, so, but, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
So we're still okay budget-wise.
Yeah.
I just make that comment so we're mindful of every dollar that we're spending.
I guess I'm in favor either way we go with what the original proposal you had or the last one you said. And like we've talked all along, our biggest asset is our roads. And the more money we can put in there is the better. So,
Well, I see my last proposal, if you will, as kind of a compromise. It's a $10 a month decrease, still symbolic of the effort to keep the budget in line. Move it over to streets where we need it.
yep.
I don't know if that's something everyone could live with, but I guess I'm curious to hear your thoughts. John, do you have anything?
No, I think that if you actually spend the time reviewing what you need to review before you come to the meeting, and spending your time at the meeting, and perhaps doing a few things during the month if there are any constituent complaints or that type of stuff, that you certainly earn the meager amount that we're paid. I think it's, Randy's idea attracts me a little bit in that the concept that you could give it back if you want to, okay? But on the other hand, I think that in this particular situation, we probably ought to at least symbolically do what the mayor, you're suggesting, Brian, because I think it's symbolic, and every, when you have a $150,000 budget, every $1,000 counts, so why not do it? And it's certainly not going to impact the bottom line a whole lot, hopefully, on anybody's adjusted gross income this year. So I would suggest that we do what you suggested.
Do you like the idea of reappropriating it and putting it in our roads budget?
Yeah, I think in general, I think that whatever's left over, it seems like we put into the road budget, so why do it ahead of time when we don't know what our costs are actually going to be for actual services that are going to come up in the next year?
The only reason I say to do it ahead of time is otherwise we're decreasing the budget $1,000.
Oh, well, I don't want to decrease the budget
Yeah.
$1,000.
The
Yeah,
more
so-
money we get, the better.
Better, yep.
So we would keep the budget and the levy where it is. We would
Okay.
just decrease the salaries as I'd indicated and put that money over in streets.
Well,
And
if
then
that's-
certainly anyone has the ability to take the payment or to not take the payment or a portion thereof or 1 month a year or, you know, whatever you want. You
Yeah.
can give money back anytime you want. And I don't mean to make an issue out of that either.
Sounds good.
Tom?
I'm good with that.
Randy, is that
Fair compromise.
okay? So I'm going to make the motion that we decrease the council wages $10 per month per person, $50 per month for the mayor. So it's $200 per month for the mayor, $175 for each council member. We would leave the budget and levy as we had preliminarily approved in August, but that $1,000 difference, and it might be $1,010 or whatever, $1,020 maybe, that would be put into our street improvement fund.
Okay.
So that's my motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Discussion? So actually, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Carries. And then I think we should also move the resolution 2017-12-02, final levy and budget. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Consideration of resolution number 2017-12-03, designated polling location 2018 election. I should probably give this just a little bit of a backstory. I don't even know if people were aware that we were contemplating this. We received some feedback that having our polling location at the school presents some logistics and safety issues for the school. Introducing that many adults in and out of the school during the school day. So I don't know, Kim, did you take the lead on this?
I did.
Well, thank you very much, because we had just thrown out some concepts and you ran it down and made it happen. So the church is willing to allow us to use their facility as a polling place, which I think is wonderful and generous of them. And it solves that other concern. So that's the backstory on it. I guess I'm in favor of it 100%. It makes sense. I do want to make sure come October, November that we're communicating with our residents and that there's no confusion. We may even need a sign at the school, with an arrow saying 500 feet south. That's the nice thing. If they go to the wrong location, it's close enough that it's not going to throw them off too much.
Well, it depends on how they're voting.
Right. Yeah. Well, we won't get started on that, John. All right. So that's what's in front of us. What do you guys think? Does that make sense?
Well, it's really unfortunate. I think that we can't have it at the school. I understand the concerns on public safety and that type of thing, but I think it's an eye-opener for the elementary school kids if they're aware of anything at all, that people are actually coming in there and doing what citizens need to do as part of their responsibility. And so I think it's unfortunate that we find that we have to move, that we probably should move due to their concerns, but if they're concerned about it, then I guess we ought to, and I have no objection to where it's being placed, despite the fact that when I enter a church, it may, conceivably collapse.
I think it's a knee-jerk reaction the school district is having. I've never heard of a problem. And I think it's all going back to what we see on the news right now. Everybody's concerned about safety, which is fine. Be concerned, but if it's not broken, don't fix it type situation. I agree with John. It's a good civic lesson for the kids to see people coming in and vote. I don't agree that it's a safety issue. And also, I do have a quick question. It does say here in our resolution, there was a change made 2017 polling places designations. Did that, as far as being able to say to designate precinct polling places by the year end of December 31? did the law also change that? I thought it was always that you had to vote in your own city. If that's not true, then we're okay with that. But
I believe Randy might be right, I'm not positive, but I thought there was something on
I
that.
thought, and I could be wrong, but I really, before we do this,
Because I remember a couple of years ago when this brought up, because the whole safety issue at the school is, even as a parent, you have to get buzzed in and you have to go through certain ID and that. And so rather than having people walk freely through the door to go vote, where other people have to get buzzed in and that was a concern, and they're looking at that district-wide. But I think it might be that it has to be in our city.
Well, remind me of our election judge's name.
Joan,
Joan. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed. I can't remember that. I know that previously Joan had explored the idea of conducting it in Shiner's side room, and that she surveyed the county to see if that would be permitted, and it isn't because they serve alcohol.
Yeah.
So there's part of me that's assuming maybe Joan verified with the county of whether or not this was acceptable, but I don't know if she called out specifically that's in Lakeland as opposed to Lakeland Shores.
Does anybody have Joan's number? We could just give her a call, because she's been doing this forever. She might know the answer to her question.
I don't. I'd have to try to get a hold of Judith to get Joan's number. Do you have Joan's number? Randy's thinking he
well,
might.
let's see. I got 2% of battery left. Let's see what, if I can quickly do this.
So if we do have her number, I would recommend we take a 5-minute recess to see if we can't just ask that question.
Not in my phone, I'm sorry.
Okay. I think we
Give
could
Tom-
probably
give
call
Tom
Savages.
Savage, yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we take a 5-minute recess. Is there a second?
I second.
We're recessed for 5 minutes.
Yeah, sorry to bring that up, but I just,
No, I...
We're on break.
Okay, we're back from recess. Kim, you have some information for us.
Yes, I spoke with your elections coordinator, who you will be appointing in January, or your first meeting of the year, and she indicated that you do not have to have your polling location in the actual city.
Okay, thank you for getting that information clarification. So I certainly understand your comments. I think maybe it's not a perfect thing, but it's probably the world we're living in, and probably what we need to do is my thought on it. Tim, any comment?
Nope.
Tom?
Good.
Are we prepared to adopt the resolution? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 2017-12-3.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
point of order, Mr. Mayor, resolution, is that a roll call vote?
Mayor and council members, resolutions and ordinances are only a roll call vote if a super majority is required.
That's a great, it's a great question though, Randy, because an awful lot of times I have done it by roll call, so that was a good question.
Okay, what,
Good-
I'm a little.
good clarification.
What's a super majority?
4/5.
Four-fifths?
Yeah, but what would require it?
Summary publications, any comp plan changes, any zoning changes?
Probably anything that required a public hearing.
Used to do it all the
No.
time.
Okay.
I was told you, but whatever, everything's different sometimes.
Yeah.
I was wrong about having to be in Lakeland Shores.
Good questions though, even though maybe you're not coming out on the winning side of it. They're excellent questions, so keep them coming. We'll move on to item E, proposed recycling hauler and JPA. Tom, just because of, the fact I'm relatively new, do you mind giving a little bit of a backstory on this? There was an effort to,
Okay, okay, now this is great. explain my newness when Sandy was doing this until she sought other opportunities, and then I got kind of thrown into it. And so you think you're the new guy, you ought to be at my end. But it was initially set up for 4 of our 5 communities: Lakeland, Lakeland Shores, Lake St. Croix Beach, and St. Mary's Point, to go into a joint agreement to have a recycling contract for all 4 cities. The thought was it could save us some money because we are currently on Lakeland's, piggybacked on Lakeland's contract, and St. Mary's Point and Lake St. Croix Beach have their own. Excuse me. So, with working with the county and some of their contractors, we put together a
Request for proposal.
request for proposal, an RFP, and sent it out to. I think we got responses from 4 haulers. Actually, we got responses from 6 haulers, but some of them we didn't chase all the way because of obvious financial reasons and a few other things. Their costs were quite a bit higher. We whittled it down to the 4 that you see in the documentation I sent out, and this is basically there's 2 sets of numbers there, and I'm sorry it looks like they cut off the top, but one of them is for if you see the one that has the current prices on it of $4.30, $3.78, $3.78, $3.13, down halfway down the page, current prices.
All right, so the one that has this information here.
Yeah, that is the every other week listing.
Okay,
If you look at the other side of the page,
let me interrupt you
Okay,
then.
good.
So then is everything above it the bid for every other week?
every other week.
Okay, so now you flip over,
You flip over, that's the bid for every week.
okay?
So, now we kind of.
Every week for just recycling.
Yeah, just to recycle.
Okay, this isn't trash.
This is not trash. Trash is not part of was not part of the RFP. It's still the individuals, still the ones that are licensed in our area.
Okay,
At this point, we had there's another 3-page document, which is a joint powers boilerplate. It's pretty simple. At this point in the process, the mayor of Lakeland dropped in and put a stipulation on that the only way he would stay involved in this is if we picked Maroney's. The questions then turned to, well, why is that? And he said, because they provide good service and they're a local company and I know who they are. And I said, well, there are other companies that could save you money, substantial amount of money. That didn't seem to make any difference to him. Then that was 2 months ago, and then this last month he came back and said, we're just not going to be part of it at all. They have decided to, as of, let's see, it was the 27th, I believe, he came in and said that it looks like we're not going to participate in this at all. And from the other 3 cities' standpoint, that's fine. We really don't care. If he chooses not to be part of it, he can explain that to his constituents, why he's paying a higher rate than we are.
But are these bids based on all 4 cities?
They are not changing because they're dropping out. They were based on that. Quick fact check back, they're not going to change.
can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
I've been watching some Lakeland Council meetings based on some communications I've had with their mayor relative to the water rates. And I want to say that it was approximately August
Yep.
that he raised a concern about participating in this discussion. And Councilmember Stanton, and with the support of the others, said, well, there's no harm in getting the quote. And Mr. Stanton went further and said, I think we need to get the quote, because how do you explain to our citizens that we're not going to look at the lower price? So, and I didn't see any discussion in their most recent meeting about this, but I fast forwarded as much as possible, to be honest with you.
When I watched it, I don't believe I watched the end of it, so I conceivably
could've
it
come
could have
up
come
in
up
the
at the end. But I certainly watched unfortunately, the first 2.5 hours of it.
So I don't know that it matters to us.
Right.
I just want to be cautious and say maybe their council, once they're presented with the information, will change their mind. I don't know. But I did notice in the JPA that we have Lakeland as the fiscal agent.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they pull out, we've already discussed that, and we've kind of, we haven't made a final decision, but it could possibly be Lake St. Croix Beach or St. Mary's Point. We haven't really decided yet.
Okay.
Because they have staff. They have, I mean, Cindy is on both ends. She's a council member in St. Croix Beach, and she's the clerk in St. Mary's Point. So we've kind of kicked that back and forth. But
I did notice that there's adequate compensation for that. We're not asking our member community to do it for nothing.
Right.
There's reimbursement there.
right.
Do we
And,
have to act on this tonight?
Here's my point.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
Let me run this through the logical
Okay.
conclusion, because I'm going to need a little direction,
Yes.
because we got a meeting coming the 20th,
Right.
and so I'm going to need some direction on this. But with Lakeland pulling out, we have the other three cities went, well, we could go with Highland, which is the cheapest. They're a local company
For every week.
for every other week or every week. If you look at the difference between the two, it's 331 to 344.
I'm looking
Excuse me.
at 294 to
Well,
349.
no, Highland Sanitation has 231.48. That's a 5-year total.
Oh, okay.
That last column is a 5-year total.
So you'd like us to focus on the 5-year
Right.
5-year contract.
5-year contract.
So that's your total
it would be
cost
the
over
cost
5 years.
every month times 60 months is what it boils down to. So that
Per household, we talking about?
Yes.
if you look at these, and this got cut off, but each column this would be 2018, 2019,
I got you.
2020, 2021, 2022.
So, but when I look at the advanced disposal on the every other week,
Yeah.
they're the cheapest.
Right.
180.
And they're not a local company, and that was one of the things that
Okay.
scared us.
So
away
Highland
from-
is local?
Highland is a local
Yeah.
company.
So,
What do you mean by local?
It's in the metro area.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a family-run business in the metro area. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's not like waste
It's not
management.
waste management. I understand
Yeah.
waste management,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what the rest of Maroney's is basically a Metro One.
Yeah.
I don't know what Republic Services are.
I have Highland for my garbage.
Tom, I'm gonna need a little help here too as well. So let's just go, my first question is, this one says every other week on the bottom, and this one says every other week on the bottom. So are they both every other week?
No. No, we explained that earlier.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, it does say that, but yes,
okay, which one?
this
is
one
what?
is, the one without the detail here is every week.
This one's every week.
No,
Yeah,
that one's
the one
every
with the
other
line
week.
running down.
That's every other week. That's every week, right
This
there.
is every, so I'm gonna delete the word other,
Yes.
every week, okay?
So it kind of looks like they were in conversations with this Sue Young, who was how shall I say this, a garbage expert. I guess that's the best way to say it. This woman, I have been severely impressed with the lady, because about 3 days a month, she goes down to the sorting facility and sorts garbage. So, I mean, there's a level of commitment there that I would not have. But if we were to go every week with Highland, it's like $13 more over 5 years.
But still less than our current agreement with Maroney's.
Right.
Which is every other week.
Yeah, but do we really need it every week?
I did a little informal survey, and I've talked to Tim, but I have, and my wife's initial response was, good, I don't have to remember what week it is. And I just take it out every week. It doesn't make any difference. I did talk to a couple other people who said, one of them said they didn't care, either way. One of them said, well, that would be nice, because I noticed that, and the reason I asked them is I know them, and the other reason is their top is always not quite closed on their recycle. If you did it every week, that would make a large impact. I know, I've seen Tim cutting up boxes, because that's the only way he can get them in, is to cut them up. And so,
My recycling bin does get full every
Yeah,
2
you know,
weeks.
I
for
agree.
sure.
I mean, my garbage one with only 2 people living in a house ends up being
Yeah.
the thing I could do every other week. You know,
yeah,
but-
agreed, yeah, the garbage is this full, and the recycle is the other way.
Mine gets full
Are
of
you
beer
positive
bottles.
these numbers are correct? I mean, how can they do it every week and only be $13 more?
I have no idea, John. It's in their contract. I didn't bring them with.
Okay, sure.
Their response to the proposals came back with those
They're
numbers.
based out of Newport, so they're closer. I don't know if they, where they dump it.
And,
What happens to the recycling bins then? Do those all get changed out?
yes, and that is part of it that's built into the cost. Now,
It'd be a similar bin though on wheels and,
it's a 65 gallon, for, yeah, same type of bin.
and would they pick up the same days that our trash is picking
That
it?
has yet to be determined.
Okay.
Yeah, it might change because currently St. Mary's Point and Lake St. Croix Beach are Thursday. But it has yet to be determined at this point. I mean, we're kind of we are the smallest player in this group.
So you said you were looking for direction. I'm
Right.
gonna give you my thoughts and we'll let everyone
Okay.
chime in. I think I'm in favor of the every week.
Okay?
I see based on price that Highland's the most competitive. I would prefer that they pick up the same day that trash is picked
Okay.
up. And I would also prefer that we figure out who's gonna be the fiscal agent.
Correct.
Prior to
Right.
approving.
And I think that a lot of that, like I said, it was gonna be Lakeland. Jennifer had basically signed off on that. Their clerk went, okay, fine. And, then Mayor Glasgow stepped in and now, that, kind of a grenade in the room, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Kim, is that anything you think that we could do?
I don't think so. I don't think that you're set up for it. I
Okay.
mean, that would include the billing and.
Right.
Well, it'd be, yeah.
Well, I guess I should maybe,
Well,
I was thinking it would be your time, but it would probably be Judy's time.
Because if it was,
Yeah.
we would have to pay the bill, and we had to collect from the other cities, is the way it would have to work.
So, I mean, do they change every week? I mean, I know, because, I was working with the trash haulers in Oak Park Heights.
Yeah.
And, so, you have residents coming in, residents coming out. Who has to do that kind of calling?
No, this would not be that.
It's
This,
just recycling bins.
it's between, to my understanding, and I should read the joint powers again, just to be sure, and I will, but my understanding is the agent, the terminology, is who gets the bill from the recycler, who then
Pays it,
pays
invoices
it and
the
distributes and
participating-
recovers the cost from the other cities.
Yeah.
Is the way it boils
And
down.
it really shouldn't change.
No.
No, it's
'Cause
gonna
set
change.
amount for
Yeah.
each year.
Yeah.
So would you maybe see if Lake St. Croix Beach is willing to do that? They have the same treasurer that Lakeland has, so there would be some synergy in terms of bill collection, bill payment.
Okay.
It's just,
And that's kind of the way I was gonna,
'Cause if I
Pointed.
remember right, Lakeland, when they did it, it was like 1 or 2 checks a year we would write.
right, I think it was quarterly or something.
You know,
That sticks in my mind, but I'm not sure.
and then correct me if I'm wrong, but we subsidize recycling in our budget, don't we?
Yes,
Why do we do that?
because the cost, this is what it costs us per month. I mean,
Per household if
Per
you
household.
recycle or not.
Yeah.
Recycle. But then I thought we get a check from
yeah.
above. and-
So is the city effectively paying the full cost of, we must be.
Yeah, we pay.
But
for
we're also
recycle,
getting-
But we get money back.
getting money
This
back.
year, a grant of 1750, I think they're
Yeah.
budgeting for 2018.
Yeah.
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 So,
Confused.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused of
So
why
we
that.
pay in our taxes, what is it, $3 or $4 a month? $3.78 a month
Right,
for each household if they
Right.
recycle or not.
right.
So if we have
same as
100,
CEC
So
charge.
you're paying $45 a
Yeah.
year.
I don't know the answer to that.
whatever pickup we have for their garbage, 140 residents.
I'm imagining that that took place in the early stages
Right.
to incentivize people to do it. I just am thinking at some point in time, whether it's a tax or it's a direct bill, I suppose this way people could opt out of it if they didn't want to recycle. Maybe that's the other part.
No, there is no opt-out.
Yeah, that's,
But then we get a check back from them.
There would be an opt-out if it was billed directly to each
Yeah,
individual home.
correct.
All right, well, we don't need to go down that road.
so,
Just, so this 430, 378 is the same would be on this side?
Yes.
yeah. Well, see, it's because everybody does every other week, currently today.
Right.
Those numbers, those are the existing numbers, and they don't change.
So it really wouldn't be an apples to apples comparison to write
Right.
them in there because that's every week
Yeah, the
versus
ones
every
without
other
those
week.
numbers are every week, not every other week. And the cost per month, as you can see, that goes from, on Highland, it goes from $349 to $369, which is still less than we pay today.
So let's get a consensus on that.
And that's
How do you
every-
feel
that's
about
every
every
week.
week versus every other week?
Well, what I wanted to just say a couple things. One is, I think that there's something to be said about having the same garbage person as you have recycler, and I like the idea that you put up both of them out there, you know, whether it's every week or not. Obviously, I could use the recycling more than the garbage, but if I had my way, I think I would suggest that we stick with Maroney's and that we do it just do it every other week, okay? Because there's $5 difference or whatever per year for the customer, if you're doing it every other week, okay?
So I'm sorry, I was,
So,
your state,
I
are you in
would
favor
rather-
of every week or every other week?
Well, if we'd stuck with Maroney's, I would like to do it every other week. That would be the only reason to stick with it. Obviously, if the other two cities are gonna be fighting for their trash haul.
And they're not getting their hauling.
They're not getting their haul.
No, they currently both have waste management.
Oh, do they?
And I'd point out, it's a separate truck that picks up trash versus recycling, so it's no additional trucks.
Right, no, I understand that. And I was just thinking, just, rather than the transition, getting rid of your
Right. And
your container, switching it back
And
for another
there's
one.
been conversations about that, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have heard of, sometimes they just come out with stickers. Because the other hauler doesn't want the barrels back.
Yeah.
And so they just come out and put a sticker on it, which net effect is more for you than anybody else because it has their phone number on it. And so-
Here's a curveball, John. I have Highland for garbage.
So let's do this though,
Can I ask
because
you
we gotta
another-
remember,
why are we doing
one second,
this?
I'll come back there.
Well, you have a contract.
Wait.
When does it end?
April,
Of 2018?
yes.
Let's just remember that there's been a committee of 4 communities that have worked on this for a year, so I don't wanna circumvent, their efforts for the past 4 years, so. I think you're looking for feedback.
Right.
How we feel about every week versus every other week.
Yep.
I don't know that we have a definitive consensus, which tells me I don't know that we really care either way.
Well, my guts are telling me every week because I know that that's what my wife would like, and we do go through that. But I'm having a little difficult time trying to justify the numbers to see.
Okay, we're gonna come back to
We're
that.
going to come
I just
to that.
wanna do one
So-
thing at a
so
time.
I'm kind of leaning
So-
towards every week,
Okay,
maybe.
okay. John,
Every week.
I'm every week.
Me also.
All right, so there's your feedback on every week. Okay. Randy, your next concern?
If we try to extrapolate because there's nothing here, and I understand why it's not here, because we're not doing every week. What do you think the cost is right now? If we were to just, would it be
Look at
double?
Maroney's. Just look at Maroney's
I can tell
for
you.
every week. It's $7 a month.
Not right now.
No, if we were, well,
Okay, where?
this,
$7.09?
Maroney's estimate for doing every week
Yep,
for next year
yep,
would be
709.
709, and it would probably be more based on their numbers, because we're paying a little more now than we are then. So, but let's just take 709 as a baseline.
Randy, I think what you want to do is you look at the monthly, because I really can't give you a 5-year total, because I don't know what Maroney's
Wait, yeah, I'm
increases
just
are.
looking at 2018.
So right now, it's $3.78 per household for every other week service.
378.
Which is what are
Or
those numbers
370.
under current price?
375.
$3.78.
Okay, yep.
That's the
Okay.
current price.
Ah.
Yep.
Oh, they're
Highland,
they're
Highland's
gonna go down
proposal,
Yeah, they're gonna go down,
3 cents.
yeah, if we were to go every other week with Maroney's.
nine cents. So now flip over to Highland, put the second one down, every week, $3.69. So we're getting twice the service for 9 cents less.
Okay.
Okay?
What's the star there for next to Highlands?
Oh, that was Sue's recommendation.
Tom, you got a, and don't answer if it's a bad answer, but you got a sense, feeling about what the other cities might be wanting to do? Because to me, every week Highland, I think, is that?
That's the committee.
I think that's.
And
what it
that's kind of where the committee is going.
Ah, okay,
I mean,
okay.
I tried to keep that segregated from this, but that's kind of where the committee is currently going. And just from the standpoint of, we have a county person and a contractor from the county, both the Danielle and Sue, both who do this all day long.
Got it.
And if you look at Afton, their entire service is Highland.
Got it.
Yeah.
And we, from a garbage standpoint, we're free to I think there's what, 3 or 4.
Maroney's and Highland and Waste Management
So
and,
I can go anywhere to get out of that picking.
yeah, that's,
So, here's what I'm thinking I'm gonna do. Okay, let's say we go with Highland, and they get the bid, blah, blah, blah. I got Maroney's right now for garbage, but I'm gonna give Highland a call, and if we can, because I like having it on the same day. And I think it's good for our roads to have it on the same day, so I'm thinking about maybe switching.
But we determine that by the
Highland's
city.
on, their garbage is on Wednesday.
their garbage is on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh, Highland's is
all
on-
haulers are on
All the haulers
Wednesday.
are on Wednesday.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
$30 a month.
But
For Lakeland
recycling's on
Shores.
different days.
Recycling's on different days. Oh.
Recycling
Our
may be on a
recycling
different
isn't.
day.
Is it always on Wednesdays?
For us,
Well,
it's
for
Wednesday.
Maroney's it is. but,
Yeah, well, we don't know if
And,
Highland will go
but
Maroney.
Lake St. Croix Beach and St. Mary's Point are on Thursday.
John just reminded me of the other thing. So we want to know what day of the week.
Right, and I've already written down on here,
Okay.
we'd like the same day, but that's kind of an iffy thing because it's just,
That's their operation.
yeah, I mean, we're, like I said, we're the small fish in this pond too.
So here's the feedback, just to recap. Every week,
Yep,
leaning towards Highland.
yep,
We'd like you to explore having Lake St. Croix Beach be the fiscal agent.
yep.
And we would like the day of the week for recycling to be the same as the day of the week for trash, which is Wednesday currently.
Okay.
Bring that to the committee and bring it back to us next month for a vote. Is that right?
That's good.
Well, depends upon if we don't have to vote on it, you may bring back more information.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I'll come back, although I'm not sure I'm gonna be at next month's meeting, but I will get the stuff here for sure. And I will, I have those items, those 4 items.
Okay.
Okay, that'll work.
So we're gonna not vote on that this month.
Okay.
Item F.
Excuse me, Mayor and council members, I'm not sure if the joint powers agreement had a clause in there regarding the actual hauler that is decided upon, dealing with if they do replace the bins, them handling all of that and having a call center, Because based on experience, when these things get changed out, that can be a nightmare.
That, I agree with you, and I have all of their proposals. And we're having a discussion right now about it at the committee, at the group level. And because we're trying to take the clerks out of it and go right to the hauler with a problem.
So just put bins on your list.
Yeah, right.
That's your 5th item.
And
The
if
bin
indeed,
turnover.
we don't, or if the hauler or the contract, the Powers Board goes with somebody other than Maroney's, then this will have to be amended to take all the words Lakeland out of here.
Correct. And as you notice, I don't know if you noticed it or not. but in the draft, we have Lake St. Croix Beach, Lakeland, and Lakeland Shores. We're missing St. Mary's Point in the draft,
Yep.
so.
All right, so you'll get that cleaned up. Who is Lakeland's representative on the committee?
Jennifer's been doing it.
Okay, so
But-
she'll be presenting this to their council, presumably?
I think Richard's doing it. I really do.
Well, either
Yeah.
way, it's got to be presented to
Will
their
you be
council.
having another meeting before Lakeland has their meeting for the,
No. Their meeting is on the 18th, I think, and our next meeting is on the 20th.
All right, I'm advancing
Okay,
us.
very good.
Consideration of comprehensive plan update contract. Kim had prepared a draft for Mark Nagel to review. He had expressed some concerns, so we have not worked through the finer points of the agreement. Is this still the same contract that he had reviewed but had some concerns with, or is this revised?
No, this is the same one.
Okay, so there's some issues in here that are of concern for Mark, particularly the insurance and liability issue. He doesn't have insurance or liability coverage for his consulting services. So what I'd like to see here is that we authorize myself and Kim, and maybe I could get John to volunteer since he's got a legal background, to work through the details of a independent contractors agreement with Mark to help us with the comp plan. So it's not this contract. It'll be this contract with significant revisions. And I guess from my point of view, I'm willing to dumb it down as much as we need to because we're in desperate need of somebody to help us with our comp plan. Technically, that should be done this month. We were put on notice, I think, 3 years ago that we needed to update it. And I guess, frankly, I didn't realize it had to be done by December of this year. And I didn't realize the work hadn't started, so. I'd make a motion that we authorize the mayor and that we volunteer John Bishop and the clerk to work on an acceptable, mutually acceptable agreement with Mr. Nagel to provide services for comprehensive plan update not to exceed $3,500. Is there
I'll second that.
questions, discussion?
would you consider having the treasurer involved, because you're on a contract as well, if I'm not mistaken. What, do you have some insurance? Do you have the stuff that, what the issue is in your contract? No, you don't. Should you?
No, we don't require that of her.
No.
Okay? And then if that's true, why would we require it of him?
Which was his comment.
Oh, he wants it.
He wants it out.
He wants it out.
Mayor and council members, may I suggest that you take a look at the treasurer agreement and perhaps just use that one?
Yes.
For the comp plan?
We'll
It
work
is
from
very
that.
simple. Yeah.
Yes. Good idea.
Okay, see, I can't see it in here. He wants it out. Oh, well, then that's
Limitation of liability. 9, I believe.
9. Whatever.
So we got a motion and a second. We'll bring the final agreement to you in January, but we're fundamentally approving a working relationship with Mark not to exceed $3,500 for comprehensive plan update. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item G, consideration of 2018 Humane Society contract. Kim, do you want to introduce that? Or do you mind introducing that?
Oh, no, I do not. Mayor and council members, I look back at your 2017, apparently every year you approve a contract with the Humane Society. Included in your packets was the actual 2018 contract that I don't believe there were any changes.
So it's just a procedural issue?
It is before you for consideration for the 2018, year 2018.
Okay. Any discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is it possible, Brian, just to go back to this independent contractor agreement, that that it could come under $3,500?
Yes. Yeah.
But he's billing out at $35 an hour, up to $3,500.
Not to exceed 3,500.
Thank you.
Yes. Item H, proposed water rate increase concerns. Candidly, I want to keep our comments to a minimum on this.
And to be civil as well.
And to be civil, right. So Lakeland sent out notice to the 3 communities they service that they were considering a rate increase. They did that approximately 8 days prior to their council meeting. Unfortunately, we didn't have an opportunity to meet as a council to discuss. So I took the liberty of requesting a workshop. And really my thoughts were just to educate ourselves and to understand what it was they were proposing. 2 other communities shared in that email correspondence that they would appreciate that same opportunity. The clerk informed us that there wasn't enough time to schedule one prior to the council meeting, which certainly makes sense. And that, you know, if we wanted to provide additional comments or concerns prior to the meeting, we could. Candidly, I thought the correspondence we had already had would be enough for them to delay action. But after they had some discussion, they ultimately approved the rate increase. There was comment made that if it was a serious concern, we should have been at the meeting. I respectfully disagree with that. I looked at their agenda. I knew that it was going to be a 3.5-hour meeting, which it was. And I thought that the respectful request for a workshop was enough. That's, you know, I'll take some responsibility for that. At any rate, they are willing to, or they appear willing to, host an open house and a question and answer session. So that's where I think we ought to just reserve our comments. Let's get educated on the issue, and we can always bring back any outstanding concerns that we have as a council at our next meeting, or perhaps even have our own workshop prior to our next meeting to talk about, you know, what our concerns are, what our options are, if there are any. It may be that we're comfortable with the situation. So that's would be my preference, that we delay any additional discussion, that we hope that they're going to be able to accommodate us in our request for a question and answer session. Would ask that as many of you are available, join us. I would also suggest, and Kim, maybe we need to post in the event that there are more than 2 of us there, I would also suggest that we attend their December meeting if possible. The mayor had suggested that, you know, we need to be present and we need to express our concerns to the entire council if we have them. So my thought is we're there to observe. Hopefully we have the workshop before then. If not, we can come forward and say that we would still appreciate a workshop so that the council hears us. We're neighbors. Let's figure out how to work together. We always have. And I'm hopeful that that'll be the case going forward. There's my pontification. Does anybody want to add anything to that, or are you guys comfortable with that plan?
Either way, whether we get together whether people show up at the next city council meeting in Lakeland on the 18th, I guess Tom said it was.
19th, I believe,
19th,
Tuesday.
19th. And, or or whether one of us inquires ahead of time, but I think we need to inquire ahead of time. I'm somewhat concerned over the fact that the purpose of this rate increase, as I understand it, is to build a capital fund for future improvements whenever they need it. They've been spending a lot of money. When I met with them, as a bunch of people did, at the one of the pumping stations, I guess it is, approximately, I'm not even sure how long ago it was, but it could have been late last winter.
Spring, when was that?
I
April?
think it was,
May? June? Right in
I
there?
think so.
They talked about having a surplus fund, of close to $500,000. I've had other figures that have been out there as well. And now they're doing a rate increase to build that fund back up. And I'd kind of like to know just how much of that fund has been spent and how it's been spent and who has actually received the money from it. When looking at their city council meeting from last month, the only thing I could understand was Jim Stanton, who seems to have most of the power, was basically getting what he wanted because it was state of the art. Everything was state of the art. And I have no doubt that it is. Maybe the filters are, taking out chemicals that never were taken out before and that type of stuff. But so my concern is not quite so much about the fact that we're hopefully drinking pure water or good water. My main concern is how, how this money's being spent, because now they're asking us to supplement that capital improvement fund. And so I'd like to know how that is how it's been spent. I mean, $500,000, I don't know what they're down to. I didn't get that impression from the meeting, but
So, I've watched almost every meeting that they've had this year, and I've got about 5 pages of notes, and I noted the timestamp when they discussed it, so I can share that with our council at some point. April was a very informative meeting from my recollection. Tom indicated they had approximately $500,000 in reserves. They also had a $200,000 reserve balance, and I forget the title. So it was a total of $700,000. I think what they're focusing on now is that $500,000 balance. At a following meeting, and I want to say that was approximately September, he had indicated to date they had spent about $200,000, which would be consistent with the report that he put out. And I think maybe that was confusing how it was stated that they had lost $200,000 or there was a $200,000 deficit. That was really specific to capital expenditures, not operating income and expenses. So that was a little confusing. But it's my understanding they've spent about $200,000 to date, which draws that account down in that $300,000 range. They still have that other reserve account, approximately $200,000, but they also have additional expenditures that they're working on. They've referenced that SEH is finalizing kind of a detailed long-term improvement plan, and I think that would be helpful for us to see and to understand. But I do recall of that $200,000, approximately $20,000 was to buy an additional generator. Approximately $10,000 was to buy a new compressor, kind of a redundant compressor in the event that part of it went down, it would keep running the system. They've spent some money on locks and security in both plants. I want to say that was approximately $25,000 between the two. They've replaced their filter media, I believe is their term, because they're converting from something that's primarily a chlorine system to something that's more of a bleach system, is my understanding. But again, I'm not a water operator, and this is just what I'm picking up from watching their meetings. So I think those are questions that we could ask and learn more about.
And if I'm not able to make it, would you please get a clarification on, I would assume that there's already money through all of this that's going into their reserve fund now. So can't they just use that same amount of money and just keep putting that in the reserve fund?
Well,
Because that'll go in there.
That was the other part of their April meeting. That's why I probably got the most information from their April meeting. They expected, through efficiencies of outsourcing and not having, dedicated staff, an annual operating savings of about $30,000 to $40,000. So I guess that was my initial thought, was they would take that savings and perhaps build a reserve if they needed additional reserve.
Right. Plus, they already got money coming in, I would assume, that goes into the reserve.
A little bit, not a lot. The
Oh.
bulk of that reserve, from my years of experience and recollection and poor memory, most of that reserve was established when the bond for the second tower came into being, and that was about a $2 million bond from memory, and I want to say they spent about $1.3 million. They had left additional money for rehabbing the tower, which is something that we did maybe 6 years ago. So they've spent it down a little bit, but then to your point, through some of their operating budget, they've built it up. But I think there's a feeling on their part that there's a lot of deferred maintenance. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I don't know. I'm not a water operator. And then they're also changing the system. They're definitely changing.
Modernizing it.
Well, they're modernizing it, and they're fundamentally changing it from a heavier chlorine usage to, yeah.
Okay.
So
Anyway,
So
it's
let's-
clear that most of us are in the dark about it, and I think I certainly would like to know, what's going on, and just for my own knowledge, and I think in case I was ever asked a question about it. And in addition, I think we also I'd like to see how they've spent the money.
Yeah.
A little more detailed rather than just they spent $100,000 this quarter or something.
Well, and I do recall when I was mayor of Lakeland that it was proposed that we set up a water commission. And at the time, Stillwater was going through trying to eliminate their water board. And it was a fiasco. And I remember thinking, well, there must be more to this issue because Stillwater's trying to disband theirs. What I do think would be beneficial is if they had an advisory commission that their council appointed. Maybe it's 3 people, so that they have, somebody that comments, questions, concerns can go to that commission, as well as whoever's running that department can get direction from more than one person. They're a little bit vulnerable having just one person. There's nothing in the JPA about that. So that's
The
all
reason
I
I was
got.
looking at the JPA to see if it expires.
No, I think it's perpetual, but I can share some of my thoughts on the JPA, but I don't want to do it this evening.
That's fine.
Okay, let's move on, huh?
I just have one quick comment, and I know I brought it up a few years ago, that one thing with all the people that use the water service, we pay a fee. I can't remember what the dollar amount is on our bill. And so I brought it up that the people that have private wells weren't paying for the maintenance on the service. And I don't think we have that many private wells that still are in use. But that, I think other cities might charge the private wells for the maintenance. And that's something to look at to, ask them how many, we could find out how many there are not on our service.
I
in our
presume
town.
that there was an assessment per household whether you connected or not. I could
Yeah,
be
but
wrong about that.
yeah, there was, I believe it was like 3,500 I got charged when I hooked up, but I mean on your monthly billing.
Yeah, it seems like whoever's using it should be paying for the maintenance.
But see, then if you look at it, and I brought up to the council that it also pays for our fire hydrant
Mm-hmm.
and our water service there. So they're not, it's all in the big.
They do get a
picture.
benefit on their insurance
Yeah.
for reduced rates. Yeah, we can talk about that in the future.
So that would be a revenue source.
That would just be our issue.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to council and staff reports. Roads Commissioner, John?
Nothing much, we had our first snow, and rain-snow combination always creates icy roads. Apparently Tri-County was out there, although I didn't see them, but some people on the council have seen them. And I don't know.
I didn't see him. I saw evidence that a road was plowed.
Actually,
It could have been anyone.
I think Tom was the one. Were you the one that said you
Yes,
saw?
I saw him.
Okay.
Okay. And they obviously didn't do much sanding. I think if things get any icier, we probably ought to have them come back, but I know that's one of our bigger bills, and I've kind of got this philosophy that we all live within a quarter mile of the road that is bare, and let's just drive slowly getting to it. But if, as I said, one of our bigger costs is sand and salt, and even more than comes out to a great deal more, I think, than the plowing is. So I haven't heard from anybody saying yet that they need more salt and sand, and
I did drive around a little bit. I was
Uh-huh.
concerned about the road by the school. The hill that's typically in the
Uh-huh, yep.
shade. That wasn't too bad compared to some of the rains that we had last year where that
Mhm.
was treacherous. Lakeland Shores Road was one of the worst. There's something about having that higher ground on the right-hand side. It tends to trap that water on the road. Doesn't give it a place to go. I thought that was pretty slippery. You walked that one today. What'd you
I
think?
did. Yeah, it's slippery. I think Tom Savage cleaned it up because I know the snowplow didn't come down to my way.
No.
And, there's some benefit to leaving a little bit of snow on there sometime as compared to scraping it clean.
Right.
And especially if you're walking. But, I think the intersection's bad, pretty bad right there. I mean, I'll give him a call if you want, but I thought maybe I was talking to Tim about it, and I thought we'd let Saturday come and go and just see if the warm sun is supposed to get up to almost freezing, and
Saturday, Sunday, I think
Yeah.
we're above freezing.
see what
so
happens on
let's
those
let
days
it ride.
and let it ride. And then if I get any complaints, I'll call Tri-County.
We just let that guy with the Ford Ranger go up and down the road
Uh-huh.
with this loud muffler. That might heat it up.
Treasurer's report. Judy, what do you have for us this evening?
I guess the one thing I just really want to ask is,
We might need you to come to a microphone. Sorry,
oh, really?
please,
Okay.
just so that we've got you.
So what I'd like to just find out is, like the type of reports, I know what you were getting when Tom was here.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if you want the same thing or, email with the information. Do you want the paper? And also I was thinking of, I think the important thing would be to have, the U.S. Bank statements from all the funds, send it as an email so you can have a look at what the bank statement is saying. You know what I mean? But if you don't want it, that's fine too. I'm just,
I'll give you my perspective. I did like his summary page.
the summary,
He would send, what needs to be approved for payment.
yep,
So receipts and expenses. But his summary typically would call out if there was an anomaly that occurred that month or that quarter.
okay, like the larger bills or,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Because that's typically what I look at, and then I would
Uh-huh.
ask from time to time, are we on track? Are we ahead? Are we, are we behind? Where are we?
right. I think
I mean,
now
this-
we're looking like we're pretty, we're right, getting to the end of December.
He previously had thought we may end up as much as $10,000 under budget,
Yeah, it
but
could,
now with this median expense, the
Yeah.
legal expense might even help that cause. So
Mhm.
I'm still thinking we're probably close to 10,000 under budget.
Yeah,
But that's the
hopefully.
kind of information that's helpful.
right.
for me.
Right,
You need something
Yeah.
like this.
Yes.
Yeah,
that whole packet sort of,
Yeah.
and you like, okay.
yeah.
All right. And so then, do you like it emailed or at the meetings, or,
He always did both. He emailed it.
If he emailed it in advance, then we didn't always get a hard copy. If he just was running a little late on it,
Yeah.
then we would definitely get a hard
just get a
copy.
copy here?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I
Sounds
guess
good.
I always like a hard copy because then I don't have to print it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so you keep them
Yeah.
and all that, okay, all right.
both
Uh,
if possible. Otherwise, if you get it to Kim, she prints the majority of the packet. Could you print the report?
Mayor and council members, if I have it for the packet, and I like to do the packet at least at the latest Friday prior to your meeting.
Yeah,
It's kind of
so
my.
that's our
Yep,
challenge.
Yep, just get
But
me
if I
before
can
that.
get that, Thursday evening,
Yeah.
Friday morning, it can be
Yeah.
part of your packet.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
Everything else is, I'm assuming, very smooth.
Yeah, yeah, it's going.
Are you
pretty
liking
good.
it?
I am,
Good.
yes, and that's so, and I started recently for St. Mary's too.
Oh, really?
St. Mary's Point.
Oh,
yeah.
wonderful.
So doing there, yeah, it really helped, going through a lot of Lakeland Shores.
Yeah.
And that first, and having a break before I start that, but.
Well,
yes, it'll be-
Tom's been doing it for a long time, so it
Right.
was fun
Yeah.
to watch you guys speak your language and
Yeah.
hit it off. That was
Yeah.
great.
I did purchase the C-Test and, for the software, and I'm looking at, implementing it probably for the first of the year, and then using, the QuickBooks, January, February, March to run parallel,
Okay.
and then strictly be going on the C-Test, so hopefully completely be done with, QuickBooks in March,
Okay.
and that's all,
Excellent.
okay?
Mayor and council members, I just will note Judy has really been on top of it, asking a lot of questions, doing what she needs to do, getting the bills out. And with that purchase of CTAS, you will be saving some dollars from your QuickBooks and the payroll. I think quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
More
There's
roads.
no charge with the CTAS.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep.
And that's
And I-
offered through the league, is that it?
Minnesota State Auditors.
Oh, all right.
And that's, so all the reports, we'll set up the general ledger accounts are probably going to change a little bit because they have special account numbers for special revenue, different things like that. So that may be something we'll have to work at, just being a little bit different, but I think it'll be really, easy to understand in the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Your account
Excellent.
numbers will change a lot from QuickBooks to
yeah,
CTAS.
yeah.
All right.
But there's
Yeah.
nothing.
No, there isn't, and, the general fund, and then you have all the different things, so. But it can break up things a little bit more, so you see more what,
More detail.
more detail, yeah,
Excellent.
so,
Well,
Okay.
welcome aboard. We really
Okay.
appreciate
well, thank
your
you.
willingness. Randy?
The reason I haven't passed this down is that the checks need to be signed.
Yeah.
Is in the past, and I
Yeah.
just, Tom had a green thing in here for
Yeah.
it. Okay, now hang on.
Okay.
So I see it's the same thing in here, but it's got original, so that's not ours then.
That's yours.
Oh, it is?
That's
Oh,
yours.
So I can take it?
Yep, you can
Oh,
take that.
alrighty.
Okay.
Okay.
I just, the paper, the color, I just.
No, that doesn't matter.
Okay.
When I saw original, I
Yep,
thought, oh,
that's your
God, I better not
original.
take that.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Yep,
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
that's it.
City clerk, zoning administrator.
Mayor and council members, I believe in your packet, your open building permits was included, which shows your open building permits, as well as actually your, the public safety, showing the citations and calls, which there were not many, and I don't think I have anything other than that to add.
That does remind me, did we get reimbursement from the resident on Lakeland Shores Road for the false alarms?
I think we did.
Okay.
I believe you did, yeah.
All right. And that's something that we should just, because I think there was another 2, 3 of them.
There's one more at least.
Yeah, I saw that there was another call, and I was
November
wondering if that was
22.
the same residence.
So, I think we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. That's a lot of resources for nothing. And when it's happening over and over and over again, I think we need to encourage a new system, because it's my understanding it's gone on for years. So-
Yeah.
Is that in the fee schedule at all?
We have a policy about that. Is it a policy or is it in our ordinance about false alarms? I think the first 1 or 2, and then after that we bill. It was actually referenced, I believe, or a copy was provided when we sent the invoice.
Yeah.
If you're able to go back to that, I'll
It's
look.
there somewhere.
Okay.
I'll
Tom
look.
sent an invoice, and did we get paid on it?
That's what what I just asked. She said yes.
Yeah.
She thought so. Great.
I believe they did, you did, and I believe it took a while because there was a problem with the address when it was first sent out, and it was.
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not seeing it anywhere, so I'm
Yeah.
sure it's gonna be-
All right. Great. We'll move on to mayor and council reports. Randy, you want to lead us off?
Thank you, I do, Mayor. Let's talk about the Yellow Ribbon Alliance, which is near and dear to my heart. We had our 7th annual Veterans Recognition Dinner on November 10th. On a Friday night, had a great turnout. We had about 150 people total there. We had about 65 veterans. And what's really neat about it, I believe that we had, and God bless them for that, we still had, I believe, either 5 or 7 World War II veterans show up.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. So we did some special things that night. Want to thank we were able to go out and our volunteers went to the local area businesses, and we were able to get 65 raffle prizes that we raffled off. So we've got a great relationship with the business community and with the Lower St. Croix Valley cities as well. So that was a great deal. Right now, we got it, in fact, they may be just about done with it. They're, two of our executive committee members are doing a presentation to a civic group over on the other side of the cities. And making a long story short, they heard about our Yellow Ribbon group, and they wanted us to come over and make a presentation tonight, and they're going to, even from that side of the cities, is going to give us a substantial financial donation for our cause. So we're getting the word out, and people are helping us. So that's just wonderful to help with that. And what were you going to do with that money that you're going to get? Well, we've got a really sad situation right now, but it's a good situation for us in that we get to spend our money. The sad situation is we have a family in the Lower St. Croix Valley. The mom is a service member. I can't remember if the dad is or not, but it doesn't matter. But mom is, and they're financially hardship right now. And the young son, 2 years old, I don't know if he's ever been home. I'm a little weak on all the details, but he's been in Children's Hospital. He's got like cancer of the brain. Just really, really sad. And these folks don't have a Christmas. We were able to find them. They found us, and we're getting Christmas trees for them. We're getting presents for them. We're trying to find somebody to dog sit for them. I mean, so that's the types of things that we do. And so we were real lucky that, because the problem we run into is that, as you folks know, there are no lists of people that say, okay, we get from the National Guard, here's who's deployed, here's who are. So it's a self-referral type situation, and we were just lucky enough that these people, it came via another Yellow Ribbon network that these folks were here, and so we just are really blessed to be able to help these folks out, and they're eternally grateful. We're bringing food to them. I mean, those are the types of things that we do. Okay.
Absolutely.
We're currently doing a meat raffle at the bungalow every Saturday. That's where some of the money goes that we earn to go help area families. So please come there between like 1 o'clock to 2:30 on Saturdays at the bungalow, and come on down and spend your dollar and try to win some of the meat raffle. And our staff and our executive committee runs the raffle down there, so they have a lot of fun. And I do want to just go on a public record and to thank all of the donors again. There are too numerous to mention that were part and made the Veterans Recognition Dinner for the Lower St. Croix Valley a success. And we have our next meeting in January, and we're just continuing to move forward and doing whatever helping we can do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. John?
I only have one concern, and it's something I've talked to you about in the past, dealing with what looks like an unoccupied vehicle that's close to the main road and on 2nd Street North. And it's my understanding, Kim, that you may have sent out a letter. I didn't know if the letter went out on the car or whether it went out on the RV that was there.
It was the RV, and I believe you added the car.
I will have to look that up. I don't recall.
So I'm kind of curious as to what if they got the letter dealing with the car. If they didn't, then let's send them a letter, okay? And if they did get it, I don't know what the ordinance says as to what we can do about it, but it obviously is not going to move it. It's been there forever. Tires are flat. It's loaded with all sorts of equipment.
I had committed that I would knock on their door, and I haven't. And the letter is probably the right way to go, and making sure we're following procedure. It just seems like knocking on their door is also kind of a simple solution.
Yeah.
We do need to get the car out of there. It's got flat tires. It's full of material. I don't know what's in there. And it's clearly very, very close to the road, so it's going to be an issue when we get a heavy snow event. So I'll confer with Kim about the letter, and maybe even I hand deliver the letter or something to that effect. But
And I'll be glad to go with you if you think safety is any question.
it's not safety.
Well,
it's just not a fun
I
thing to do,
would-
so it's hard to get motivated to do
But
it.
I think one of the things we should look at is a safety issue too, and your commitment. What you do is maybe, that's something we could have a law enforcement deputy, and actually,
Let me try the
I
good
was-
neighbor thing first. and then go from there. But, you know, I'm sorry, John,
No, it's no
I should have
problem.
done it 2 weeks ago, I just haven't done it. But I will, and you see me enough that you can say, did you do it? Did you do it? Because sometimes I need that little push. Okay?
No, it's a safety issue, Brian, and
I've talked to them in the past, and they've been nice to work with, so I just need to stop. Anything else, John?
No, that's it.
I'll jump in. WMO, everything's moving along just fine. Washington County Conservation District, specifically Mike Eisensee, just does a wonderful job for us, and happy with everything that's happening there. The only other thought I had, newsletter, I think. Has Lakeland Shores typically done one of those a year, Randy?
Twice a year, usually spring, summer, fall, winter.
So we haven't done one of those, it's time. So maybe we can work on getting one out in January, February. I can work with Kim on a draft. I think your comments tonight about yellow ribbon would be nice to have in there. You know, our final budget number would be nice to have in there.
New voting place.
The new voting,
Yeah, voting place.
spot.
Any other items you think we should cover?
Now, would here,
brush site, clean up your yard.
I guess
under
if-
2014, so we already got a template for it. Do you have this?
I'll have to check, I don't know.
It
You
should
know
be
how
on
to
the
do this
computer somewhere.
I do them, but I'll
Okay,
have to look and see
so
if
it's already there.
The template.
The template's
Yeah,
there.
we still have to come up with content.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
don't believe it's on your computer, so.
All right. We can get a hold of Sandy if we need to. I mean,
Yeah.
somewhere there must be a format. Okay, that's all I had. Tom?
Okay. I just thought of something for that newsletter. If we, going forward on this recycling thing too, be a good thing to have in
I
there.
agree, that would be good.
Yeah. I'll just handle the fire department right now. It looks like we're gonna go over 350 runs for the year, which is a run a day, which is pretty decent for a volunteer department.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah,
I don't know, I thought I saw it in one of the reports that the calls were down.
they had been down for a long time. Oh, throughout the summer, they had been really low, but now September and October, they were like 37 and 41.
Oh, so they jumped again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is, at this time of year, it's so weather dependent too.
sure.
It's, let's see, I was going to, they did get the grant for the new air pack system. And, so we still had to come up, and I'm gonna speculate, I think it was 20 grand we took out of equipment, which was budgeted for this kind of thing, so it's not a big deal, but now our new air pack system is compatible with the other departments that we do mutual aid with, and which is a big deal because then we don't have to just use our tanks. We can use any tank that's available when we're on a multiple call site or fire. Last year, the state legislature passed, and I don't have my notes here from the fire department, but I think it was 2015 fire codes. This is already primarily, I mean, Tim's working with them from a contractor standpoint already. The thing that we get involved in at the fire level is on the commercial areas, the sprinkler systems and that kind of stuff, which the fire department does. They do the inspection on that stuff and the approval. And Rob Corey, who's the deputy chief, has asked that we approve, that say we are using those codes. Now, he has agreed to come to any council meeting and explain the differences. It's, how shall I say it, the minutia of it is pretty detailed.
Yeah, could he just provide kind of the model that he's suggesting and maybe just a brief narrative?
Yeah,
And
I'll talk to him about it.
And hard copy it to all the communities, then he
Yeah.
doesn't have to make 5 presentations.
Yeah, but he's willing to come and, you know, if we have questions, he's willing to come and come to one of our meetings and deal with it. And I think it's something we should do because all 5 cities are going to be using
Sure.
those commercial requirements.
Okay.
That's it for the fire department.
Great. Tim?
I just have one thing. I was wondering about our building inspection service, that when our contract expires. Does that expire at the end of this year or end of next year? And about
I want to
renewing
say
it?
it's the end of next year, but Kim, maybe you could look and confirm that.
And if we are committed to it, or if there's an out and looking at
The
other
out is not a
services.
very friendly out from my recollection.
Okay.
The other thing is that we just have issued 2 significant
Yeah.
permits.
Okay.
So even if there was cause, it'd be terrible timing
Okay.
because that money's already been distributed.
Okay. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Awesome. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second. Call the vote. All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, Judy.
Yeah.